So, when you think about the end of the world, what comes to mind? Probably not a giant party, right? Well, one of the most famous images from the Bible's final book isn't about destruction at all. It's about a massive celebration, the marriage supper of the Lamb. And today we're going to unpack what this really famous and kind of mysterious event is all about.
And there it is, right there in the book of Revelation. Blessed are those who are invited. It sounds so simple, but this one line promises this ultimate celebration at the end of time. And honestly, it's had people talking and scratching their heads for centuries.
I mean, is this a literal dinner party? Who's on the guest list? And why call it a marriage? These are the exact questions we're jumping into. We're going to see what the ancient texts can tell us about what this incredible heavenly banquet is really all about.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to zoom out a little bit. This supper isn't just some random event that got tacked on at the end of the Bible. Not at all. It's actually the grand finale to a theme that's been building right from the very beginning.
Think of it like this. The marriage supper isn't a standalone episode. It's the series finale to this long-running idea of the meal with God. It's this pattern you see of people sharing a meal in God's presence, which has always been this ultimate symbol of family, community, and making everything right again.
And what's so cool is when you see this pattern laid out. It kicks off way back in the Garden of Eden with the tree of life. Then you see it again when Abraham actually shares a meal with God, who shows up in human form. Then, get this, you have the leaders of Israel literally eating and drinking with God on top of Mount Sinai. And it all leads up to the Last Supper. Each meal is like a little preview, a glimpse of this final, huge cosmic banquet that's still to come.
All right, now this is where things get really interesting. The book of Revelation doesn't just describe one supper, it describes two, and they are completely different, happening right after each other. And this contrast paints this incredibly vivid picture of the two sides of what the Bible calls the Day of the Lord, a time for both ultimate justice and ultimate celebration.
So to get this, you have to put yourself in the ancient mindset. The idea of a victory feast was a huge deal. In a lot of ancient stories, after the gods won some big cosmic battle against the forces of chaos, what's the first thing they did? They threw a massive party. A banquet was the standard way to show everyone, hey, we won, the war is over for good.
And this slide just lays out the wild contrast. On one side, you have the marriage supper, this joyous feast for the faithful. It's a celebration of their vindication. But then you have the great supper of God, which is, well, super grim. It's where the defeated forces of evil literally become food for birds. You see? It's two sides of the very same coin. Celebration for one group and total judgment for the other.
Okay, so forces of chaos that end up as bird food? What does that even mean? To really understand that intense imagery, we've got to look at one of the Bible's most powerful and ancient symbols for evil.
Let me introduce you to Leviathan. Now, this isn't just some random sea monster. In the Old Testament, this multi-headed sea dragon is the ultimate symbol for everything that's wrong with the world. All the chaos, the violence, the injustice, everything that stands against God's good creation, all rolled into one giant, terrifying beast.
And check this out. This ancient psalm from the Bible says that God crushed the heads of Leviathan and gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness. Do you see the connection? The total, final, absolute defeat of chaos is pictured as it being eaten. It's the exact same powerful, brutal imagery that Revelation uses for its judgment supper. Evil is so completely defeated, it's literally consumed, gone, removed from the story forever.
Okay, so a massive victory feast after defeating the ultimate chaos monster. That makes a certain kind of sense, but that brings us to the biggest question, right? Why a marriage? What in the world does a wedding have to do with any of this?
And here's the key. The wedding language isn't just there to sound nice. Throughout the entire Bible, writers reached for the metaphor of marriage when they wanted to describe the deepest, most loyal, unbreakable bond between God and his people. It's the ultimate picture of intimacy and commitment.
And this is really the emotional heart of the whole celebration. You see it all over the Old Testament, where God is described as the husband to Israel, and that carries right over into the New Testament, where Christ is the groom and all of his followers are the bride. So this isn't just a victory party. No, it's the ultimate family reunion, a celebration of a relationship made perfect again.
And John, the guy who wrote Revelation, he didn't just invent this out of nowhere. He was more like a master weaver, pulling together all these incredible threads that were already deep in the biblical story.
Centuries before him, the prophet Isaiah had already connected all the dots: the divine marriage, the victory over evil, and a massive feast for people from all over the world.
So let's bring it all home. The marriage supper of the Lamb isn't just one thing. It's like 4 amazing things happening all at once. First, it's a victory celebration, marking the final irreversible end of evil. Second, it's a family meal for absolutely everyone, people from every tribe and nation. Third, it's a divine marriage, celebrating that ultimate, perfect union between God and his people. And finally, it's the kickoff party for a new creation, a whole new world where heaven and earth are one.
So what started as a kind of mysterious phrase turns out to be a key that unlocks the whole story. A story that doesn't just end, but ends with a party, a feast. This ancient vision says that the entire point of history is heading toward a shared meal, a celebration of community and restored relationships. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. If the end goal is a feast for everyone, how does that change the way we set our own tables today?